Donald Trump has been panicking all Sunday at Mar-a-Lago. He's been trying to, I guess, ease that panic by engaging in this gluttonous, weird partying behavior over there. Let me show you what's going down this morning. Here's what he's posting. Less crime, more Trump, exclamation point. Then he goes, without tariffs, we have none of the following. Just posted truth, exclamation point, DJT. He then posts, people that are against tariffs are fools, exclamation point. We are now the richest, most respected country in the world with almost no inflation, a record stock market price. 401ks are highest ever. We are taking in trillions of dollars and will soon begin paying down our enormous debt, $37 trillion, record investment in the USA, plants and factories going up all over the place, a dividend of at least $2,000 a person, not including high income people, will be paid to everyone. I mean, he must just think that we're all stupid, right? Remember when he promised Doge dividend checks? Remember that 6 months ago? $5,000 Doge dividend checks. Then remember, he said the tariff rebate checks are right around the corner. We all know that our economy right now is doing absolutely terrible. People can't afford basic things. The housing market is an absolute disaster. Manufacturing, construction, and other sectors in a recession right now. And you're going to just post lie after lie and say, but don't worry, next year's the year where we'll give you, a rebate check. Next year's the year where we pay down our debt. The debt has only been increasing under your despicable regime. Year over year, the deficit is 7% higher right now than under former President Biden. Government spending is up significantly under this regime than under the Biden administration. Doge was an abject failure. You're an abject failure, and you're there in Mar-a-Lago like partying with this weekend was synchronized swimmers, crab claws. You still had like women running around half naked. I mean, these photos that were from this weekend that our team gathered are absolutely despicable while Americans are suffering. And while Democrats offered a proposal to stop the Trump government shutdown, do a 1-year extension on the Affordable Care Act subsidies, all of the MAGAs, Lindsey Graham, everyone were like, oh, we can't do a 1-year extension. That would be saving and bailing out the insurance companies. That's your new talking point, saving and bailing out the insurance companies, which, by the way, all of MAGA had protected for so long. Why don't we do this? Why don't we not kick people off their health care right now? Why don't we do a 1-year extension on the Affordable Care Act subsidies so people who are terrified that they're about to lose their insurance can have an ease of their mind from being psychologically tortured? Then do what the Democrats say, which is come up with a bipartisan commission and we can come up with a solution. But you posting on social media, you're going to hand people $2,000 or saying that you're going to reduce prescription drug prices by 1,600% or change mortgages from 30 years to 50 years. Those are just Trump fraudy gimmicks. Come up with real freaking solutions. The people are not stupid, and they showed that on Tuesday. But Donald Trump keeps posting away. Here's his next post. It was post on Sunday. He goes, Obamacare sucks. The worst health care for the highest price. That's your plan? Obamacare sucks? The worst health care for the highest price? Well, you 2 years old, even 2-year-olds are more mature than Obamacare sucks, man. It sucks. Dude, you're the president of the United States. Just try to behave for a moment like a freaking grown-up. That sucks. That sucks. Then he posts, pay the people, not the insurance companies. Great. But what happens, Donald, when somebody gets cancer or somebody has a real need for a serious surgery and you give them $2,000, but the surgery costs $150,000? What do you do then? You're going to write people a check for $150,000? Because in that case, we should have universal health care, which is what I want, but that's not what you want. You want to give people a $2,000 check, a $50,000 mortgage, so when they get seriously injured, they die while being in indentured servitude their entire life. Do y'all see what these people want to do? Isn't it obvious what their gimmicks are? And the rich just get richer. Donald Trump posts, Republicans should terminate the filibuster. The Dems will do it the first chance they get. End the shutdown. Pass lots of great things and win the midterm. So easy to do. Be smart, not the stupid party. Pass lots of things. Obamacare sucks. Pass lots of things. I mean, come on. This guy behaves worse than a freaking 2-year-old. I don't want to compare him to that. Terminate the filibuster. Make America great again. It's post after post. This one's in all caps, folks, so you know he's being serious when he does all caps. No more money. Hundreds of billions of dollars to the Democrat-supported insurance companies for really bad Obamacare. The money must now go directly to the people, taking the fat cat insurance companies out of the corrupt system of healthcare. The people can buy their own much better policy for much less money, saving for themselves an absolute fortune. Again, go back to what I said. What happens when the person needs a surgery that's $150,000, $300,000 and you handed out $2,000, which you still are not doing, and you promised that Doge rebate check back, 6 months ago? You're not addressing the core problems here. You're not addressing it in a systemic, intelligent way. Then lay out your plan in detail with specifics. You can't just say the fat cats, You know where the fat cats are? They're in Mar-a-Lago right now. They're watching the synchronized swimming while you're on your iPad, while you basically stole the Resolute desk, which you now have on display at Mar-a-Lago. Last week, it was the half-naked girls in martini glasses. And now, I don't even know what the hell was going on in Mar-a-Lago yesterday. An 8-day Thailand trip was being auctioned for $64,000. You had stone crab claws on display. You could basically buy a home for the amount of stone crab claws that were being laid out yesterday. And this is what the regime is doing over and over again. And guess who's the drafter of the Republican, or not even the drafter, because they don't even come up with a plan. Who's the Republicans' main person who talks about healthcare? Rick Scott. Yep, the same Rick Scott who was the CEO of Columbia HCA Hospital, who oversaw the biggest Medicare fraud in U.S. history and was fined $1.7 billion, the largest healthcare criminal fraud ever levied at that time. Folks, with all of the lies and disinformation that Donald Trump is throwing out there, it's more important than ever that our media diet reflect accurate news. It's why my go-to news source when I prepare this podcast, it's called Ground News. You guys, this is a subscriber-funded app and news site. And every day they pull in thousands of articles from around the world and organize them by story and then show you what the right is reporting, what the center is reporting, and what the left is reporting. It's a game changer because as active, responsible citizens, we must get our news from reliable sources. In Trump's America, being informed about facts and media bias is the most important thing that you can do. But that's why we love Ground News. For every article, they also tell you, does it come from a media conglomerate? Was it independent media? Then they list the degree of factuality, which is interesting because there's a lot of news sources from media conglomerates that I think have mixed or low factuality. Independent media seems to have a higher factuality. The plan I use from Ground News is called the Vantage subscription plan. I especially like their blind spot feed, and that shows us which stories are being disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum. Like this story right here. Democrats seize on Trump administration's effort to fight food stamp payments. If you look, this story is being covered by the left to 39%, in the center 57%, and only 4% of the right in terms of the overall coverage to this story. And to me, that just proves my thesis that the right wing keeps its followers in this bubble to pretend that, oh, everything's great in the MAGA cult, while literally their food stamps are getting ripped away. Their health care is getting ripped away from them. So join us by going to ground.news/MTN. Get 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan that I use every morning. It's ground.news/MTN. They're subscriber funded. By subscribing, you're not only getting a tool we all need today, you're also supporting our work here on this YouTube channel. Again, that's ground.news/MTN, and we've pinned the link to purchase your subscription below. So please check that out if you can. So we were going over all of Trump's deranged posts. We were showing you what was taking place in Mar-a-Lago. $64,000 Thailand trips were being auctioned off to people there, whatever the hell you're going to do there. And then Donald Trump would have people at Mar-a-Lago watch on loop while they were all eating those stone crab claws a music video falsely claiming that Donald Trump won the 2020 election on loop. Here, watch this. Play this clip. Now, while that was taking place, you have the defense secretary, who unlawfully refers to himself as war secretary, Pete Hegseth, giving a speech. And he says that right now the United States is having its, quote, 1939 moment. That was his speech yesterday. 1939 moment. You mean when Hitler invaded Poland in September of 1939? Does Hegseth know what a 1939 moment even means? Here, play this clip.
And I talk about this all the time. This is a 1939 moment, or hopefully a 1981 moment, a moment of mounting urgency. Enemies gather, threats grow, you feel it, I feel it. If we are going to prevent and avoid war, which is what we all want, we must prepare now.
But Democrats have been on the offense. You have Democratic Senator Chris Coons talks about how Trump's refusing to listen to Americans who need lower costs. Here, play this clip.
I don't see him working to lower costs and improve health care, what he said would be his focus. Just this week, he had Orban, the leader of Hungary, someone who's close to Vladimir Putin and hasn't supported Ukraine in their fight for freedom. He was sitting with him and encouraging him. He's allegedly cut a deal with him to give him a free pass from sanctions for buying Russian oil. So I don't think President Trump is showing the kind of priorities that Americans voted for last Tuesday. He's not listening to concerns about lowering costs. Instead, as you said, he's worried about decorating his new Marie Antoinette ballroom or engaging in trying to figure out how to get his name on more statues and more stadiums, or he's sitting across the table in the Oval Office with authoritarians. But he's not doing the thing most Americans send him here to do, which is lower their costs.
Then you have Democratic Senator Merkley, who says, you know, look, over and over again, you'll have Donald Trump. We're hearing from the president, well, I don't want these tax credits. Maybe I want to send out checks to people instead. Okay, Merkley's like, well, extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits now so people don't lose their health care. And if you want to discuss whatever ridiculous plans you have, do it in public to the American people, go through a legislative process. But boy, oh boy, didn't MAGA reveal their hands when they were saying they refused to even do a 1-year extension on the Affordable Care Act subsidies? So there's no way to even talk to them. And now their talking point, it went from blaming immigrants and trans people in Peru, and now they're saying the fat cats. The fat cats. Look, I'm no fan of insurance companies. Let me be very, very clear about that. I think that's a huge understatement. We can't have people lose their Affordable Care Act subsidies right now. Here, play this clip.
We were hearing the president yesterday saying, well, I don't want to do these tax credits. Maybe I want to send out checks instead. Okay, Mr. President, you have a new plan. Well, let's get these tax credits out now, and you'll have a year to develop the details and not have the people left in the lurch across our nation. And that's why this is a win-win for them. My Republican colleagues are saying it's a disaster for us to go to the 2026 elections having destroyed health care for millions of our constituents. Exactly. So let's get this done.
And then what Donald Trump is saying is that our country is so poor right now that we simply don't have the liquidity to fund the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. And it's a liquidity issue. Even though we claim we brought in $22 trillion, it's all about liquidity. We don't have the money, he says. Here, play this clip.
And you know, one other thing, our country has to remain very liquid because problems, catastrophes, wars, could be anything. We have to remain liquid. We can't give everything away based on a number. Here's an example. When I was president, the number that you're talking about was a tiny fraction of what it is now. Biden went totally crazy, gave it to anybody that would ask, gave it to people that were able-bodied, had no problem. Anybody that would ask, we get the number. And it's many times the number of people are on. This wasn't meant for that.
What about the $22 trillion you keep on saying that we're bringing in? Where's that liquidity? And then you have J.D. Vance on the federal judges ordering the Trump regime to use emergency contingency funds to partially pay SNAP benefits. He goes, that's an absurd ruling. Why would they infringe on our authority? If we don't want to pay people SNAP, we shouldn't have to pay people SNAP. Oh, dude, aren't you the guy from Appalachia who grew up on SNAP, and now you're saying that you don't want to pay people the money and you want to starve people to death? Weren't these the people that you claim you were representing back in the day? J.D. Vance is just such a freaking fraud. Here, play this clip.
Look, Jackie, it's an absurd ruling because you have a federal judge effectively telling us what we have to do in the midst of a Democrat government shutdown. Which what we'd like to do is for the Democrats to open up the government. Of course, then we can fund SNAP, and we can also do a lot of other good things for the American people. But in the midst of a shutdown, we can't have a federal court telling the president how he has to triage the situation. We're trying to keep as much turned on. We're trying to keep as much going as possible. The president and the entire administration are working on that, but we're not going to do it under the orders of a federal judge. We're going to do it according to what we think we have to do to comply with the law, of course, but also to actually make the government work for people in the midst of the Democrat government shutdown.
By the way, here was the quote from Lindsey Graham. No way he'll ever extend Affordable Care Act subsidies. Republicans will never agree to do it. He goes, and to my Democratic friends, we're not going to extend these subsidies for a year because that would be unfair to the taxpayer. That would continue a healthcare system that's out of control and would enrich health insurance companies even more. Oh, I guess what's really fair to the taxpayer is when you give the billionaires total deductions on their private jets. I guess that's what's fair to the taxpayer when they get to pay less than what taxpayers get to pay. Get tax cuts for the billionaires. That's real fair to most Americans. But look, I think Americans see through this. They know what's going on. Look at the reception that Governor Newsom got yesterday. Play this clip.
How we doing, Harris County? How you feeling? Oh, it's good to be in Texas.
And then take a look at this speech by Governor Shapiro from the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, clapping back at J.D. Vance. Here, play this clip.
Yeah.
So was the release of the federal funds a mistake? Like just yesterday, Vice President J.D. Vance said, he called the court order absurd. Do we think that the release of the funds was a mistake, or is it a direct result of you guys going to court?
Well, let me answer both the J.D. Vance piece and the other piece. This is as a result of us continuing to push legally with the judge and the judge ruling that no longer would there be a partial payment, but the full payment. And the moment we got that ruling, Secretary Arkush went into action, pushed that button, and got the dollars flowing again, the federal dollars. And look, as for J.D. Vance, I got to say, look, I think America has a president, a vice president that don't give a damn about all Americans. They have made that crystal clear. And at least with Donald Trump, he's transparent about that. J.D. Vance is a total phony. And let me explain why. J.D. Vance rose to some prominence by writing a book about growing up in Appalachia, where there's a whole lot of people who get SNAP. He made millions of dollars on the backs of telling their stories, and then he turned his damn back on those very people who he likes to write about and claim as his own. Here's another thing J.D. Vance claims. He claims to be a person of faith. I know my Bible. And my Bible teaches us that we are to love thy neighbor. And we are to feed the hungry. Deuteronomy says, if you see a person who is in need, you don't give them a clenched fist, you open up your hand. So for J.D. Vance now to turn around after claiming all these things his whole life and literally go to court to stop hungry people from eating? That is not only phony, it is shameful. And this is who is leading America today. And folks got to wake up and realize the people who are leading in America quite literally want to keep people hungry. And you'll excuse me for getting emotional about it, but when I see hungry people in my state who are hungry because of J.D. Vance's bullshit politics, that makes me angry. And that's why I went to court. And that's why we're funding SHARE. And that's why we're putting dollars back on people's SNAP cards, because that's what the people of Pennsylvania deserve, and America deserves better than J.D. Vance.
Well, there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. Appreciate you.
New Meidas merch drop. Check out the latest pro-democracy sticker packs, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and more. All at store.MeidasTouch.com.